welcome back to my channel. It's Marissa Explains It All. Today I am super excited to do this review because this was a suggestion, and this is a shout out to Savannah and to Becca, of course, too. They asked me to review these bite-sized palettes by e.l.f. and I'm so excited because they are adorable, and these shades I'm actually pretty impressed with. So that is what we're doing today. I'm going to do a look for each palette and just kind of tell you guys a little bit of facts about the product. So we'll see how it wears and how it goes on and see what we can come up with today. So of course I've got all my makeup on except for the eyes, and so that's what I'm going to start with. If that sounds interesting to you, be sure to hit subscribe and I'll be right back. So after Savannah told me about this, I went on to Ulta.com and took a look at all of the palettes that they have out right now. And they have a bunch, so I'm just going to kind of scroll through and show you guys the color range that they've released in different palettes. But I did purchase 4, and there are 4 of the more neutral palettes that I felt like I would wear every day and that I could, use for different looks. I don't tend to wear a lot of really bright colors, and so I didn't go for like the blues or just like the red or orange, anything really bright, but I went with more of the neutral shades. So I did pick up the Rosewater palette, which is this one right here. And I picked up the Cream and Sugar palette, which is this one. I picked up the Pumpkin Pie palette, which is this one. And they're all a little bit dirty because I've already swatched them. And I also picked up the Berry Bad palette, which is this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do some swatches for you guys real quick so that you can see how they look on my arm. And it is chilly in my craft room, so sorry about the goosebumps. But let me do those swatches real quick and then I'll start in with the tutorials. So the first palette is the Berry Bad palette, and they don't have individual shade names, so I'm just going to kind of describe them as I swatch them out. So the first one is kind of a pumpkin color. It's got some orange, a little bit pink undertone to it, and it's fairly light and it's a matte. The second one I was so surprised at. Look at these metallics. Oh my goodness. This one is such a bold color payoff, and it's beautiful, kind of a mix between berry and pumpkin. The third one is more of a berry pink metallic, and the last one is a burgundy color. It's got a little bit of brown tone to it. So gorgeous metallics. I was super impressed with that. Next palette is the Pumpkin Pie palette, and this one is kind of shades of brown, and it kind of reminds me of Thanksgiving. That first shade is going to be like a nice kind of buttery brown. It's more of got some yellow undertone to it. The second one is more of a copper metallic, and so this one is again beautiful with that shimmer. Third one is a medium chocolate brown, maybe a little bit darker chocolate brown. And the fourth one is another metallic, but this one is a little bit more bronze in shade compared to the other one, which is a little bit more coppery. Loving those metallics. The third palette is the Cream and Sugar palette, and the first shade I actually tried to swatch a couple different times. I really went in a few times and actually just tried to go in, but you really couldn't see it. It really is the color of my skin, exactly. The second color is a really gorgeous champagne, almost like a white shimmer. The third color is similar to the color that we saw on the last palette. It's more of a copper, and then the fourth rather is a nice brown, another chocolate brown. So kind of similar to some of the shades in the last palette. And the last one here is the Rosewater palette, and I love this one. The pinks and purple hues are just gorgeous. The first one actually is kind of a really pretty rose gold metallic shimmer. Love that, can't wait. The second one is kind of almost like a lilac mauve, a little bit of purple flat shade. A matte shade. And then the third one is another metallic. This one is really pretty. It's more of a pink, dusty pink metallic. And then the fourth one is a really dark purple. It's more of like an eggplant color. It's almost black. So super pretty. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the Berry Bad palette. And so these are really pretty. I'm gonna probably have to use some of the neutral shades from some of the other palettes. I'm gonna zoom you guys in real quick. All right, so you're a little closer now, so I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get this started. I'm just gonna use the light shade right now from the Cream and Sugar palette just to kind of give myself a little bit of a base right here. I think what I would like to do is a cut crease for this. And so let's go ahead and switch now over to the Berry Bad palette. I think I'll start I'm gonna put this mirror down. I kind of cute. I'm gonna pick it up and put it back down. So I'm gonna start in with this lighter shade here and put that into the crease. So I'm just gonna kind of dip in, and I am noticing that like as I dip into it, you know, there is some like fallout in the pan. So if that like bugs you, then just be aware of it. But you know, kind of just tap off that excess and start swiping. So okay, this is a fairly light shade. This is really pretty. I like that. Yep, so I'm just gonna kind of dip in a little bit and just put it in the crease a little bit above the brow bone and start kind of blending that in. I will work it all the way in the crease, all the way across. I think I want to do a cut crease for this, so I do like to take it all the way across and just kind of start blending up into the brow bone area a little bit. So I'll just kind of buff that in. That's pretty. I want to add some dimension and some depth to the eye socket, and so I'm going to go ahead and actually do, I think I will try this this one right here, this like berry kind of color, and then I'm going to go in after that with this deepest color and kind of just start to create a little bit of a like gradient. So I'm just going to take this metallic berry color and try to keep that to the crease itself and not blend it too far over. This is really pretty though. I like that. Just kind of keep it to this like little crease area right underneath the socket. And then I am going to take that darker color and just make like a little shading with it. Just kind of deepen it a little bit and make like a little ombre type of effect. So I will do that. All right, so let's do that. I'm dipping into the darkest shade now, and we'll see. That doesn't really show up too much. I'm gonna switch to a small brush. I was using kind of a fluffier blending brush. I'm just gonna use like a really small brush here from Eco Tools, and I just wanna put that in the crease. I was hoping it might be darker. Let me dip in pretty heavier. Okay, so this is like, it's a dark. It isn't like super, super dark, but it does kind of give us a little bit of color. I just wanted to see what it looks like. I want to kind of get it a little bit deep because I'm thinking I want a little bit of a contrast when I do my cut crease. So I want it to be kind of deep, the tone to be deep in the crease here. All right, a little bit of fallout, not too much. All right, so how's that looking? It's always so hard to tell, like looking in the viewfinder. And if you feel like it is a little bit too like concentrated in one area, you can certainly take your brush and you can kind of just blend it out and make it a not as concentrated of a look. You can kind of just blend it and fade that product out a little bit more. Just nice and blended. And so now that I have that, that is pretty. I like that. I'm gonna probably deepen it just a bit more. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do the cut crease. Okay, so I'm trying to get the color just above the eye socket, tiny bit above it, because when you cut your crease, it's gonna be like, you're gonna carve out that eye section. So you want it to be visible above that wherever you cut. So I'm trying to do it above the socket. All right, so now that I've got that, I am gonna do a cut crease. And so I'm gonna take my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. It should work with any concealer, and a nice small kind of flat brush. And I'm just gonna take a little bit off of the rim here and start to carve out the new crease. And so what you're basically just gonna do, looks like this got everywhere. Looks like it got on my nose. Oh no. Okay, brush all that away. So certainly this might be the time to put your eyes on first and your foundation on later, but all right, so we're gonna take again that and just start to carve yourself out a new crease. And this is kind of difficult to get straight, but it will look good in the end. So I'm gonna do a half cut crease today, or maybe like a 3/4 cut crease, where I'm just gonna start in the inner corner, come out, and I do use my fingers a lot for this process because I feel like I never get it like quite perfectly. Your hands are a good tool too, that's all right. All right, so as soon as we got that, That looks good, and I do kind of just pat it in a little bit to absorb some of the extra product. You can use the other side of the brush too if it helps to kind of get it dispersed a little bit more, but essentially just making a new crease. And this is difficult with eye wrinkles, let me just tell you. For those that don't have eye wrinkles, you are fortunate. But now that they got this like nice 30-something skin, it just loves to tug everywhere, doesn't it? Alright, so just kind of work as best you can, and then once you've got that in place, you can kind of shape it with your finger. And then we'll put something over top of this. So now that the cut crease is here, it's time to go ahead and put a different shade on. And so I am actually going to dip into a different palette. I do want to use this Cream and Sugar palette again, because I do want to do like a lighter shade here. It doesn't really work for a cut crease to do like the same kind of shade. So you really kind of want to have like a color difference between your lid and that part. So I'm going to use this one right here, this kind of champagne color. And I'm going to use a different brush here, and I will dip in and see if I can kind of just pack that onto the lid a little bit. And I wanted to see how white this was. This is fairly white. Wow. Okay, this is really kind of blinding. All right, so you pack that on everywhere that you put the concealer, and then you can start blending back. So I'm going to pick up the original brush and go in with one of the lighter and more neutral shades and just kind of start blending that back in, and just using that to sort of blend in here. All right, more like a 3/4 to half. Looking cute. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the other one real quick off camera, and I'll be right back. So now that's done, I'm just taking like a little bit of the lighter shimmer color and dusting it across my brow bone to make sure that I catch the light here, and bring this this color up to here and just kind of balance that out. So it's like nice little shimmer. And then I can also put it in the inner corners, which I did a little bit off camera, but just kind of the inner corners. This is probably too big of a brush for that. But so far, that is what it looks like. And you can, again, you can buff this in more if you want less of this white. And if you wanted to tone it down, you could also, go in with another shade and tone it down, but this is cute for what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put on liner and lashes, and we'll see what that looks like. All right, this is our final look with lashes and liner on. So I'm trying to make sure my lashes are actually all the way stuck on, but this is how it turned out. I think it's pretty. I like it. I like the, the gradient between some of the berry colors, and I like the, fade from light to dark. So yeah, this is cute. Some of the shades in this palette actually remind me of the Urban Decay Cherry palette. So I think that is kind of comparable to some of the shades there, but these are cute. Look at my lash, there it goes. But yes, I do love this. I think this is adorable, and I'm ready for the next palette. Let's do it. All right, I've reset and kind of tried to patch my makeup back up again, so if it looks a little funny, it's probably because I've just applied layers on layers. So, all right, let's go in now with the Cream and Sugar palette. So this is the lighter one, and I've already used a couple of the shades from here just because I needed some neutral shades for the last look. But let me go ahead and just dip into the lightest shade, and actually I think I'm going to do similar to what I just did. I think I'm going to do this like metallic white kind of shade first in the middle of my eye. And actually I might do it kind of all over the lid just to give it like a nice base. And I want to see how it behaves when it's not laid on top of the concealer. So it looks a little less blinding now that it is actually not like on top of the concealer, and it's just kind of on top of a bare eyelid, which is interesting. I mean, it's still white, but it doesn't look like it's as kind of, bright and shimmery. So, all right, that's interesting to know. So I'm just gonna kind of apply that all over. And then I think I might actually try to add in some of the copper color in the crease. So I'm interested in seeing what that looks like, since I've got to play with all of the shades in the palette. Obviously, I've got to use them all, right? All right, so I've done that, and then let me go ahead and just also hit the brow bone, and then I think just the kind of inner corners of the eyes, just to kind of brighten that up. All right, so let me try now to do the copper color, or the what bronze or whatever color you would call that. It's kind of coppery, I'd say. I'm gonna put that into the crease and see how that is looking. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, I like that. That's really pretty. I have the worst habit of holding this mirror up in front of the camera. I am so sorry. Hey, it's kind of the color of this. That's funny. All right, so, and then I'm also going to, I'm not really taking it like all the way in, since I'm not doing a cut crease. I'm kind of just sticking to the outer edges. So I'm doing that and taking it all the way up to the brow bone and kind of going halfway in here, but not all the way. I'm just gonna kind of even this side out too. I think I'm gonna go with the darkest color, and they don't have the shade names, of course, but just that dark brown at the end there. Going with that one, and I will take a smaller brush and just put that in the crease. This will be more of a neutral look, not so fancy necessarily, but just kind of a soft kind of brown copper look, and I'll kind of fade that down just a bit down here. So let me go ahead and pop on the lashes and liner, and we'll see what it looks like overall. All right, so I'm back, and here's what it's looking like. I put on a little bit more subtle lash set this time, but this is what it's looking like. It's just a more kind of subtle, maybe everyday look. I like it. It's definitely a little bit more muted than some of the pinks, but I feel like it's neutral enough to where it could almost match with anything, which I always love, just like a nice neutral look. So yeah, I like the Cream and Sugar palette. That looks cute. And when you open your eyes all the way, you know, you don't see as much of the dark, you know, kind of shadows just blend in. So okay, so on now to the next one, which is the Pumpkin Spice palette. Wait, pumpkin pie? Pumpkin spice. Pumpkin pie palette. All right, so I'm back again with my makeup reset, and I'm getting ready to go in here with this pumpkin pie palette that I keep wanting to call the Pumpkin Spice palette, which is not right. So, all right, so these actually all have just copper and brown tones. So I'm actually gonna do a very kind of different look for me. I'm gonna do a kind of a coppery color on the actual lid. But first I'm gonna start in with this lightest shade, or the, not the lightest shade, but the matte shade. And I'm gonna try to just do that right in the brow bone. I wanna try to just get some basic color laid down here in the crease and get it blended out. And I like this shade. This is very pretty. I like that a lot. So I'm just, and it doesn't take much to get this this color on. It's pretty pigmented, especially for the price point. I was really impressed. I'm probably gonna go in a little bit darker now with this darkest shade in the palette and put that into just the outer edge of the crease here, just to see if I can add some depth and kind of definition to the outer edge. And I'll probably be using this a little bit more in just a bit. But for now, I do want to start laying down that copper. And so I am going to go ahead with, oh, I don't know, the copper or the bronze? Man, I don't know. So that's the copper, and then that's the bronze. So I think I'm actually going to go with the true copper. Yeah, let's do copper. I'm going to do that one and see what that looks like. So I might actually just go ahead and try to pack that on. Let me see what it looks like with the brush, but I may end up packing it on with my finger. So I'm just going to put this on the lid and see if I can get, sometimes you really can't get the color payoff that you're looking for without using your fingers, but this is actually pretty good. Yeah, this is pretty good. Let me see what happens if I use my finger now to kind of like just pack that color on. That is pretty. Every once in a while you got to use your fingers to blend. So yeah, I like that. I'm more focused on the center of my lid because I'm going to do a darker color on the outside, on the outer edges. So let me go ahead and just use my finger here to blend. Generally just wanted to kind of pack that onto the lid. And then I want to go ahead and with another brush, and just a different brush, and go back in with the darker shade. So I'm going to use the darker shade of brown again on the sides to try to make like a smokier kind of look, and to where the copper is really just popping through the middle. So let's see what that does. See if this is dark enough to kind of help balance out the copper. Just wanting to get the copper really in the middle. And I rarely do a dark shade like this on in the inner corners, and I rarely do dark shades like this actually on my eye, but I really do usually stick to lighter shades. But every once in a while, I mean, this is a pretty look if you're doing you know, a dress or something that has this color in it, or if you're going for a certain kind of look. That certainly works. Right? And then I'm just gonna take a smaller brush and kind of help you know, blend it a little bit in some of the crease and the corners, and then drag that color down a little bit. It's more of a smoky eye for this type of look, and just kind of blend everything in a little bit better. And then I do want to actually balance it out a little bit with a lighter shade, and so I'm gonna go ahead and take the lightest shade from the Cream and Sugar palette, the one that's kind of my skin tone, and maybe just put some back in there. So I'll put that back, some of the lighter color shades just back on the upper and inner corner, like right here. You know, sometimes if you go a little bit too far with the color, you want to just kind of balance it back out by putting a light shade and just kind of beating that dark color back a bit. And of course this has actually a lot of fallout to it. It's actually, it looks like it's dyed my skin a little bit. So I'm going to just take a beauty blender with some foundation on it and try to cover that up a little bit. Blend just to make sure it's really smooth. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and put on the dramatic lashes again. This is more of a dramatic smoky eye look. All right, let's see what that looks like. So here is the final eye look, and it is more dramatic, of course. It's very like dark and just kind of bold, and of course could be toned up or down depending on what you want to do, but it's really pretty. I love the copper colors. I love the metallic. I think it turned out really cute. I like just kind of a darker, bold, smoky look just for some occasions. And it probably looks really dramatic on camera, but when you really get it on a photo, it looks very pretty. It doesn't look quite so dark and quite so bold. So anyway, yeah, this is the third look out of 4. So let's go on now to the last one, which is the Rosewater palette. All right, so I am reset and going now back in with the last palette, which is the Rosewater palette. This one is so pretty. I love all of just kind of the, I don't know, champagne and mauve and just pink. Oh, it's just so pretty. So let's see what we can do with this palette. I think I'm going to go in on the lid and the brow bone with the shimmer, with this kind of rose gold shimmer. This one actually did crack a little bit while I was using it. I'd like to see how close this one is to Stilla's brand eyeshadow that is in the shade Kitten. It looks very similar to Kitten, so I'm interested to see how this does. That is also a kind of a rose gold, you know, shimmer. So let's see how this does. Okay, let's see how pigmented this shimmer is. Okay, yeah, it's pretty. It's got a nice little shine to it. I think the difference that I'm noticing between this one and Stilla's brand is that this one, well, is slightly more of a chunkier glitter. It doesn't really look like very chunky, but I think Stilla's maybe just a little bit more finely milled. But this is not a bad duplicate in terms of color, and you know, the shimmer is nice too. So yeah, I like this. This is really pretty. Okay, so I'm just gonna do more of a soft look. I'll probably do like a little bit of a smoke, but nothing as dramatic as the last one. You know, I like to just kind of keep it soft and subtle. So, okay, so I'm done kind of packing that in, and then of course you can kind of get into the inner corners as well, just to kind of lighten that area. And of course the brow bone. That is very bold. That's a nice like blinding little shimmer there. Sometimes it's hard to show up on camera, but I think you guys can probably see how bright that shine is. All right, so then I'm gonna go ahead and go in with this like light lilac color, kind of a gray lavender lilac color. We'll see what that looks like. Okay, this is actually looking very light. It's not very heavy at all. I wasn't sure how this would show up and if it would give enough of a contrast, but it does have like a hint of purple to it, and it looks like it is a fairly light, you know, pretty kind of pastel color. It's not really very dark at all, which is fine. It's like a nice little transition shade. I do want to try out some of this second color, this other color here, this other shimmer. It's like a little bit more of like a mauve shimmer. I'm just gonna place that on the outer edge. I wanna kind of see how that looks without getting too crazy. Okay, I think, I mean, my eyelid may be a little bit saturated with the other shimmer product, and maybe that's why it's not coming up as bold, or maybe I just need to use my finger. So let me try to use my finger. That's pretty. I'd say it's kind of a light shade. That may be why. It's just like a light shade, but it does, I think these shimmers do really well when you kind of use your finger to like pack it on, which is like so, you know, contrary to what I'm used to. I'm used to, like, of course, using like a brush for everything. But I like that. I'm just kind of putting that on the outer edge. That is pretty. I like that. Yep. And then I want a little bit more definition in my crease. So I am actually going to finish off with just this darkest shade on the end there. And so I will take just a fluffy brush. I don't think I need a tiny brush for this. Just a fluffy blending brush, and I'm going to start working this dark color into the crease. And it is quite dark. It's actually like a nice, like, kind of an eggplant sort of gray color. I don't think I really need to go in very heavy with it. It's really pretty. Just by one little swipe, I don't really think that I want to go too heavy with this kind of a smoke. But yeah, so just in the outer corners there, I like that. That's pretty. And I'm noticing a lot of fallout, so I'm sure you can see this here. It's kind of fallen out on my cheek. So again, maybe this is one of those products where you want to do your eyes first and your foundation after that, just because it's kind of gets everywhere, and because I use so much of the shimmer shades, like or so many of the shimmer shades, it's like very shiny now. Shiny everywhere. It's not what I was looking for, but that's okay. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here and just leave it like a nice kind of a subtle pink with a hints of purple in there in the outer crease. And let me go ahead and finish off with lashes and liner, and I'll be right back. All right, so this eye look is done, and it is very like kind of just purple and pink and really pretty, kind of a girly kind of flirty look. So I do like this look, and that is it. That's the rest of the palette. So I think I was able to use just about every shade in every palette. Of course, some of the lighter ones like this one and this cream and sugar palette didn't really show up on my skin, and some of these I didn't really get to use the bronze shade in this one. I used kind of the copper, but I think I have, you know, kind of experimented enough with this to give it a good review, and I've loved these shades. I think that the positives are that they're easy to blend. I think they do well with just blending with each other. I think the metallics are stunning. Metallics are really, really pretty. They did a great job on the metallics in this line. I think my only drawback and just kind of point of criticism would be that there is a lot of fallout from some of these shades, some worse than others, which is typical. So I think, you know, it doesn't bother me too much, especially if you put your eyes on before you put your foundation on. You can certainly sweep away the excess and just cover it up with foundation. So I think that's a small thing, and of course you could try to tap off the excess powder, but everything else is beautiful, and like I said, I'm in love with some of these metallics. They're really gorgeous. So tell me what you think. Have you tried these palettes before? Do you have a certain look that you really enjoy? I'd love to hear it in the comments below, and otherwise let me know what products you guys think I should test next. I'm always on the lookout for new awesome products that I haven't tried yet. So again, be sure to be subscribed to the channel for more reviews and more tutorials. I'm doing some craft tutorials coming up soon. So that is what I have for today. All right, so I'll see you guys next time, and have a great day. Bye guys.